This is a podcast or something like that.
Hey, how's it going? What's up? I looked up at the microphone as if it's the camera. Camera's over there. What's up? It's episode 90, and it's the Verbal Journal podcast. And, oh yeah, I'm lying down. I was like, what was the thing I wanted to make sure I did not forget to mention? I'm lying down. This has been an interesting sort of arc. Obviously, last episode I was standing, and that was, we got a lot of positive feedback on that. I don't think anyone commented on the standing per se, but, actually, yeah, no one actually did comment. Now, that's what I was trying to, yeah. But no, regardless, I had the sense that the standing really did bring it an interesting element. And so, and it was sort of a make lemonade out of lemon situation because, as I said, here at the podcast studios, they did just sort of remove the furniture. And that was last week, and it hasn't gotten better, I guess would be the way I think I would put it, the way I think I'm legally allowed to put it. It hasn't gotten sufficiently better. I think that's what I was supposed to say. It hasn't gotten sufficiently, or one could claim that the situation has not wholeheartedly become adequate, I think was the technical thing. And I was like, wholeheartedly, that doesn't really make sense in this context. And the legal team here at Verbal Journal Podcast Incorporated Productions was like, just trust me. And I'm like, okay. Just trust me is not what you want your lawyer to be saying, and they're like, I'm not your lawyer. I'm like, okay, I guess you're not. Like, am I on trial right now? And they were like, no, we've gone over this with you before. It's interesting here, but so they did, you can tell I have this over here, this thing I'm pointing to it's like a couch bed thing. I'm not allowed to use it though. So they took away the chair. There's still no chair. It's been a week. I don't have to come into the studio much throughout the week. You know what I mean? I live at the podcast studios, but it's sort of in another room. I don't come into the recording studio usually much. There's just not much for me here, and that's even when there's furniture. When there's no furniture, it's a lot less even at that point. So point is, I get to sort of be near a couch, and actually, if I'm being totally honest, lying on the floor, and I have I have some cushions here. You can tell I have a pillow, 2 pillows. It's a little bit good. It's nicer. I mean, if you lie on a couch too much, it's actually not great for your back. So I'm trying to become strong. Remember a few weeks ago, I was drinking, I had like protein powder. You know what I'm saying? That's continued. So, but I'm lying on the floor. Let me get comfortable here. I think this is going to be a new thing. I'm sure people have done it. I'm sure there are podcasts where people are lying on the floor. The problem was I did have to be closer to that plant. I was like, can I move the plant? They were like, no, you moved the plant last time and you're not moving the plant again. And I was like, okay. It's like when a website allows you to change your name, but only once. You know what I mean? That's sort of like the plant policy here. I'll still be making cuts. I'll still be drinking coffee. I'll just have to sort of go like this. And then it'll be like really, I still got things I'm going to pull up. I got everything. Don't worry about anything. But we're going to do a lie cast. And also I'm resting metaphorically because I've done, stuff for the channel this week. I uploaded a main channel video. I did a community post last night. I'm spreading words, I'm using my platform to influence and so that's fun. And, okay, so yeah, what else? What else did we, oh yeah, right, on that sort of note, actually. It's hard to read when you're lying diagonal. I wish I could turn the computer diagonal. Is there a way to rotate a window diagonally? Like, if I could just take this but I wouldn't, yeah, and then have it not show up on the stream. Anyways, so about the previous episode, the public episode. Welcome back to the patrons and the supporters. Well, thank you, and so on. The public episode, I got a lot of flack for not the content of it. I was told it was very good content. The name, apparently, Coriolis and Columbus. I mean, it was literally from the episode. I wasn't being fancy. It was just the word of the week. And by the way, I'm sorry I've been calling it word of the day in the last few episodes. I know that's been a big problem for some people. It's technically word of the week because we only do one podcast a week. And so people are like, what's my word of the day supposed to be other days if that's the word of the day? So I called the episode Coriolis and Columbus. And, because I have to title them. I get to title them is what I'm told. So I don't edit them anymore. We now have an editor, of course, but I do have to title the episodes. I do the description, the time coding even. I'm like, this is really tedious for the talent to do. And they're like, that was good alliteration is what they say. And I'm like, it was tedious for the talent to do. And they're like, that's Shakespearean levels of alliteration is what my sort of like, it's what I get back from the higher ups here at the podcast studios. And I'm like, that's not helpful. You know what I mean? Like, I'm specifically complaining about my level of work. And it's not in my job description, by the way, to do the descriptions. That's funny. It's not in my description to do that, to do the video descriptions and the time coding. There's something there. There's a joke there. There's something there. Description. But, I'm like complaining. I'm like, that's not something that I am even being compensated for. And they're like, that doesn't have as good alliteration is usually their response. They'll often just comment on this sort of poetic and sonic content of what I say, especially, sorry. Stop talking about the internal. Okay. Anyways, whatever. So just one more. We can stop. That doesn't matter. But the point is, Coriolis and Columbus, I thought was a pretty reasonable name for the episode. It was the word of the week, and then Columbus, that's a musical interlude. I was playing a kalimba. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, maybe supply me an instrument if you want me to do a musical interlude. Oh, I know what it. I know. It wasn't like a melodic. That was the problem, I guess. It wasn't melodic. Was that the problem? I'm assuming, because I'm like, why would people not like the Columbus? And it was melodic. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyways, the title itself, I got a lot of flack for. The main person I got flack for, and I am gonna just talk about this briefly, so no one text me to stop talking about it, please. Tom, the marketing department here, he got so mad that I titled the episode that. He was like, really? Coriolis and Columbus, dude? Like, who is going to click that? And I was like, that's pretty good alliteration. I'm trying to use the manipulation tools that I get from other people. Even though Tom has never done that to me, because he's 12, by the way. He's kind of innocent in that way. I've talked about Tom, the marketing department. His mom worked with him, and then she quit or was fired by him. I don't remember. Tom and his mom. That actually has good... it's not alliteration if it's rhyming, right? That's a different... alliteration is the... no, but rhyming is part of alliteration. It's like, is it assonance? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You're never going to need to know this stuff. You shouldn't. You should try to never be in a situation in your life where you need to know what assonance means. You know what I mean? So anyways, Tom, I tried to say that to Tom. I tried to do the alliteration thing when he said the Coriolis and Columbus. And I guess, Coriolis and Columbus is pretty good alliteration too. So I also pointed that out to him. And because I'm trying to do sort of a hurt people thing where I take the ways that people hurt me and I try to find ways to do that to other people. And he was surprisingly mature for a 12-year-old. He was like, he explained to me what I was doing, and then asked me to reconsider the title. And I was like, no, it's set. You can't change the title. I told him he's not allowed to use YouTube because he's not even 13. And I told him YouTube doesn't let you change the titles of videos, and he's like, that definitely is false. I go on YouTube and I see people change the titles, and I'm like, don't worry about it, dude. But I thought it was good. What am I supposed to title the episode? I asked him that too. I was like, what am I supposed to title the episode? Or I said it more like, what am I supposed to title the episode? You know what I mean? No, wait. No, it was more like, what am I supposed to title the episode? You know what I mean? It was sort of like a lilting. Because when you're talking to kids, you want to have more of like a melodic lilt. I'm not trying to use the word melodic too many times, but more of like a lilting melodic voice. Because kids like that, I think. I don't know. No one's ever asked them. But, that would be so funny to ask a kid that. Can you imagine what a kid would say? It's like, hey, do you like when I do this sort of like sing-songy voice with you? Or would you prefer I just talk to you like a normal human being? Anyways, so Tom didn't like the name. I kept it. But as sort of a compromise, what I've been doing is can we pull this up? Okay. So what I've been doing, obviously, is I try to post the public episode for people to see. And I posted it twice. So I posted it once right when I uploaded it, and then I posted it a couple days later and was like, hey, just a reminder. You know what I mean? And it was kind of a good idea. It got the views. It got like 100 more views. It got like 80 more views because I did that. So that's kind of nice. What more? The second post I called it My Podcast. I thought that was kind of funny. But that, and I knew that would get some people here kind of mad at the studio, but the thing you have to understand, Tom, is like when I call it My Podcast, like I do here, that's, even though you might feel insulted, and Donna and everyone else who works here, even though you might feel insulted by that, it's good for us brand wise. It makes people feel like this is an authentic brand. You know what I mean? So just, hold your criticism. This is part of what I do, and this is part of why centralizing a lot of the functions in the one person who is the talent makes sense. Even though I complain about it, I do get it. It's sort of like you want to have things streamlined. So that's cool, and we got some views, and that's nice. I don't think we did get any comments, though, as I said, and so, I don't know. That's one thing I would like to have more of, would be comments. No comments. Just seems like there should be, like, one or two, you know what I mean? Just people being like, I disagree. One thing I wanted to comment on was I put this in the description actually, and that's one thing about writing the description. So you can see it; it's in there. But I'm gonna talk about it briefly. So in the women in chess segment, I think I misspoke. I'm trying to, I could find the exact actually. Now that we're here, let me find the exact thing. So we go show transcript. And then we go fundamental. Okay. So I'm talking about women in chess. What did I say?
I think it'll be bridged eventually.
Even some women chess players think even that there are fundamental differences, and there are fundamental differences, I guess. I mean, there are some differences between men and women fundamentally. So, could some of those differences play into, and those differences are more like, I guess, statistical than definite. But generally and statistically, yeah, there are differences. Could those differences play into, whether it's chemical differences or just differences in hormones or how we function? I don't know. Okay, so that was me talking about that. And I think it's, it's interesting because in chess you have, chess is a really interesting domain to look at gender differences because it's been sort of like sheltered from like half the global population for a long time. And now women have much more access in chess. But and there I'm talking about like it is also interesting that some very, very high ranking women chess grandmasters, like I believe Judith Polgar and maybe her sister Susan Polgar, or maybe some other like grandmasters as well, like women saying like there are differences and that they think hold them back. And I tried to relay some of them. But when I said there are fundamental differences between men and women, I think that gets off the wrong vibe of because what I was trying to say is like there is a technical difference. And basically I was just making a point that like different things are different, which is like not a super important point. I was just trying to validate the perspective that like some people, and then so, there is like, I looked up research. I don't know what it says. It's a paper about like, let me get into a good stretch. It's a paper about men and women playing chess. Using a unique measure of within-game quality of play, they show that women make more mistakes when playing against men. Men, however, play equally well against male and female opponents. We also find that men persist longer. So that's really, I forgot to think about these sort of gameplay dynamics. The fact that women lose more to men than to women is really interesting. Like, that's controlled for performance level, I'm sure. Men grind it out longer, so you can see how like socially constructed ideas of like confidence could allow something which in chess is a big deal. Like they say Magnus Carlsen, the greatest player, really does that super well, grinds out end games, and like that's a huge deal in chess. You could have an equal position, but you could wait for your opponent to mess up and create complications. So behavioral changes in chess, differences. Oh, wow, they have some... Oh, yeah, Bobby Fischer was very bigoted. He was a very disturbed person. Oh, Gary Kasparov, too. Wow. Yeah, great history of chess world champions saying bigoted things about half the population. It's just like people don't understand all the different dynamics at play. But yeah, men are substantially better at chess right now. I just don't think that'll last forever. Gender differences in labor market outcomes persist. The unconditional gender wage gap is about 18% in OECD countries, and a non-trivial gap persists, even conditional on confounding factors. Only 1 in 7 board members in European and U.S. companies are women. 3 traditional explanations for this phenomenon are discrimination, differences in ability, and differences in preferences of jobs. More recently, a growing interest has developed around a 4th explanation, gender differences in competition. Given that good management practice dictates that managers ought to create competitive environments to increase productivity, gender differences in competition might help. Wow, so I didn't realize it had this whole broad view. Oh, that was not supposed to be it. I didn't know it had this whole general perspective on this situation. So anyways, yeah, my point was I'm not, what it means, the difference between, let me lie back down. sort of relaxed. That was kind of a tense, worked up, like sitting up sort of segment. I guess what I'm saying is like, not just that different things are different. It's just interesting what does a difference in gender mean? Because it can mean so many different things. And when I say there are fundamental differences, I'm just summing it up in a way that's insufficient. But like, the way, like, what does it mean to be a man compared to a woman? And what is the difference between what it means and what it means to be perceived that way? How do you separate a gender or from the experience of that gender in a society? I guess I'm not the first person to ask these questions, but it's just interesting. Like, where's the line between internal and external, and when there are differences between men and women, how many of those are shared among that group of men and women? Like, I referenced hormones or something. Like, those are not equal for all men. Obviously, there are huge variations within genders of differences between any characteristic that you could choose. So it would be very interesting to like look at all those variations and see which characteristics are the more decisively different between genders. But I guess it's just we're learning more and more about like what it means to be a certain type of person. And there's a lot of wiggle room in every single identity. But in a domain, in an area of work, this article, I guess it goes into why there are worse outcomes for women when the gender composition of the competition varies. Yeah, they adjust for the relative skills or they try to. Let's just scan for one random thing. This is really the lying down thing was a good idea in theory. I will say that. Okay, well, let's just leave it there. Okay, I don't know. I mean, what the heck is this? This word, I don't know why, but for some reason it like triggers me. And I have no idea why. It's just something about that word. I don't know. Anyways, let's just move on to different stuff, that doesn't trigger anyone. And so, what's the meaning of life? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I think the next segment was I was going to. Oh yeah, another follow-up. This could be interesting. All right, so this is a follow-up to, we talked about gun buyback programs. I talked about them. No one else is talking about them. I think they're very interesting. We talked about one in, I believe it was Michigan, or a few. There were like 6 that took place in Michigan. But the article didn't say how much they had paid for the guns. And I was like, that seems like kind of a key piece of information. You know what I mean? So the thing about gun buyback programs, like gun violence is a really serious problem, but it has so many causes. And I know that just like guns in the population don't inherently go off, but they sort of do, like, also at the same time. So you have to limit a lot of, you want to have make people like healthier, wealthier, have more freedom, and like just like feel less scared. I think would help with gun violence. But you also do, I mean, it is sort of crazy for so many people to have guns. I mean, I would think if, and I was reading something recently that made an interesting point. It's not related to gun violence, but like, in a sense, people owning guns, they often treat it like they're resisting or able to resist, like, but owning a gun in and of itself would never protect you from any serious repression. It would protect you from, like, that someone happening to enter your home or something, but repression. So if you're thinking of it as resistance, it's a little bit silly. Obviously, that's just the first obvious point. But the real thing is, like, in a sense, aren't you kind of maintaining the status quo rather than resisting it? Because you're defending you're defending things as they are, in a sense. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it seems like if you're buying a gun to, like, defend private property, that's not resisting the government at all. That's almost like you're almost like just a cop, an unpaid worker of the government. No, let me write into Verbal Journal Podcast. Let me know if that at gmail.com. Let me know if that makes any sense. Anyways, gun buyback programs. How much do they pay? Can we get a zoom in here? Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. Assault weapon mandatory. Oh, really? Wow. They make it mandatory. Oh, that's not what they were doing in Michigan. Buyback offer. You're going to tell me in the article, right? I don't have to click another. It's a mandatory buyback program. Wow. Okay. Oh, look at that. 1,200 for these 1,300. It's probably the market price, 2,700. I can't tell you that, you know what I mean? I'm just guessing. Okay, well, that's based on what Canadians may have paid to purchase these guns prior to the policy change. Okay. I mean, so mandatory gun buyback programs. Okay, let's look at this other link. Gun buyback, what the research says. Voluntary gun buyback programs allow gun owners to trade their firearms. No questions asked. Not subject to background checks or criminal inquiries. Gun buybacks basically just started a couple decades ago. Might not be effective on their own if the goal is to reduce violent crime. Yeah, that makes sense. Violent criminals are not turning in their guns. They're like, no, I need this for violent crime because I'm a violent criminal. Rifle buyback program that brings in a fair bit of money. Are you going to tell me how much for each one? Two new studies. Conclude that gun buybacks are necessarily and by design something. Why won't it go? Oh, anonymous. Oh, it's just saying it's very hard to scroll around. Maybe a small improvement. Okay. Benefits of gun buyback programs hard to measure, basically. Again, that word, and I don't know what it is about it. It just brings back, like, deeply traumatic memories. Gun buybacks have done little to reduce gun buyback. Yeah, I mean, they're probably not that good on the whole. Okay, let's look at another article. Let's just make sure you got to soak up the research. Problems facing a nationally enforced gun buyback in the United States. As most Americans know, there's a debate going on. Blah, blah, bloob. Among legal issues, the next optical obstacle would be the cost to the government to enforce such a policy. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I think the government could just spend its money a little bit more wisely. Okay, not the most helpful article. How would an assault weapons gun buyback probably actually work? So, and then it's like, obviously, I mean, the real question is, how do you reduce the size of the standing army in a country like the United States, and reduce the police force size, and reduce the size of the state in its violent capacity? That would be a real win. It's sort of a cheap win to just say, let's reduce the armed populace. It's sort of like, I'm actually wondering, how can we reduce the armed forces of our state? Because that, to me, is sort of the real complex. We have a real defense We're a very defensive country. We have a real defensive complex. All right. So that's that. Let's go on to the section which can only be known as dun, 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 the word of the week. It's hylozoism. Okay, we're going to get a pronunciation on that, right? I have to look it up right now. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is unbelievable. Pronounce hylozoism. Okay.
Hylozoism.
What?
Hylozoism.
Is that a person? Hylozoism. Hylozoism. I don't need to look that up. I know how to pronounce that. It's the philosophical doctrine according to which all matter is alive or animated. So all matter is alive. Okay. Got it. Citation needed in the first line. But then there's a citation. Either in itself or... Where did I see this word? I think it was an art book. Yeah, it was like some friend of Georgia O'Keeffe's, I think, who was into this stuff. It's formed... it's a word, a 17th century term formed from the Greek words hyle, meaning wood or matter, and zoe, meaning life. That's cool. I didn't know zoe meant life. So Zoe Deschanel is life Deschanel, which was coined by the English Platonist philosopher Ralph Cudworth in 1678. The more you know. So hylozoism, it's in Greek, it's traced back to the philosophers who described blah blah blue, but it's implicit and not a doctrine that was typically challenged. Matter possessed life, an essential quality. Something like hylozoism was simply accepted as a brute condition of reality. It's interesting how our ontological frameworks can just be different and we don't even think about it. Though hylozoism was implicit in early Greek thought, the philosopher Heraclitus specifically used the term zoe, making him explicitly hylozoist. The hylozoism of pre-Socratic philosophers such as Thales and Heraclitus influenced later Greek philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, and the Stoics. Though it was common in Greek thought, the term had not been coined yet. In modern literature, hylozoism has tended to carry a negative connotation, and labeling a Greek philosopher as a hylozoist might be a vague disparagement of their thought. Oh, like all the most famous people that are studied for centuries. Yeah. Philosophy is just like a bunch of haters drama farming off each other for centuries, essentially. And that is the word of the week. So hope you had a great time there. Write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.gov and let me know if you did. Gmail.com and let me know if you did. I'm always joking when I do that. It's not been funny yet. I'm just like I'm trying to figure it out. You know, I feel like there's a joke there, you know. Oh, great news. Great news. Can we get a drum roll? Oh, it's the return of the Grinds My Gears segment. People are just going wild right now. So this was an exciting, very exciting segment that got deplatformed for a couple months, I feel like. And we just thought for episode 90 we would do something special and bring it back. We thought it would kind of make sense to bring back the Grinds My Gears segment on episode 90. Because 9 is like saying no in German. And so 9T, no, grinds my gears. It's like you're saying no to something because it grinds your gears. Also, grind sounds like 9. So there was a lot going on there conceptually. Anyways, for the Grinds My Gears segment, the World Chess Championship is currently taking place in Singapore. And games are starting at like 3 a.m. my time. So it's like not even being. It's am I supposed to? I can't watch it live, and I feel like as an American, when I'm not centered in something, when I'm not this like target audience for something, I find it very frustrating. Because I'm a U.S. citizen, and I feel like I should be the target audience of anything taking place, and I want to be centered in all events should make me the center of them. I feel like. So it really grinds my gears when things take place in other countries, and then they don't like. Okay, you want the World Chess Championship to happen in Singapore. Sure, you have countries bid. You want to get the highest bidder for ad revenue to pay everyone to grow the brand of chess. It's good for chess. I get it. Yeah, but you have U.S. citizens who can't watch it now, which is just wild. You need it to take place at what? I don't know. Maybe 4 a.m. in Singapore, right? Or something like that. Is that when you need it to take place? You know, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry. If it has to happen at 4 a.m. so that we can watch it, at noon, then it has to happen at 4 a.m. Just make everyone wake up. You know what I mean? It's not like just make everyone wake up, including the chess players. Just throw off their clocks. It'll be equal. They're from India and China anyways. They're from different time zones already. So they're already thrown off. You might as well just have the whole thing take place at 4 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever, just so we in the U.S. can feel. It's not even about the convenience. I honestly don't even want to watch the games live. I just want to feel centered. I want to feel like the target audience of this. So that really grinds my gears. We can look up how it's going. We can look up. I wasn't planning on doing this. I'm just going to do it really quick and off camera. Let's just check the World Chess Championship because it was going really well. Ding Liren, who I love and I want him to win because he's so cool and nice. He won the first game, and then they drew a game, and then Gukesh won, I believe, is how it went, and then they've just drawn a couple games since then. So it's I believe it's tied after 6 games. Wow, very interesting. Very cool. All right, so this is what I wanted to pull up. This is from World Chess Championship. Gukesh, Domaraju, Ding Liren, lurking in the background. And I think it says a lot about our society. Okay, just some interesting segments to do, segment-wise. I just wanted to cover this. I don't really know where to put it. Dave Rubin is doing some good research. I searched Go Silent on his page, and he's doing some really good research on people going silent. Look, he talks about people going silent a lot. Bill Maher makes people go silent, go quiet. Listen to the crowd go silent. Crowd goes silent. Bill Maher makes guests go silent. Ricky Gaines makes Joe Rogan go quiet. Bill Maher makes Don. I wish someone could make Joe Rogan go quiet. It just in terms of not having his show on the air, obviously. Co-host points out or makes someone go silent. CNN host goes quiet. Like, how many times can you use that expression? People go silent, go quiet, go silent. I didn't know there were this many. Go quiet, go silent, go quiet, go silent. Goes quiet, go silent. Go quiet, go silent. Crowd goes eerily quiet, goes quiet. Goes silent, goes silent. goes silent, goes silent, goes quiet, goes silent, goes silent, goes quiet. I mean, seriously, how many of there, like, how many are there? Oh my god, they're just, oh my god. These are all the Rubin report, and he says, okay, finally they're not going silent. Go nuts. Oh my god, wait, is he still going quiet? Wow. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's so many times. That's so many times. Oh my lord. So, wow. Someone's obsessed with the idea of people going quiet. All right, let's go on to the main section. Rare deer birth, anyone? Rare poodoo birth in Argentina sparks conservation hopes for tiny, enigmatic deer. Took the words right out of my mouth. Those are two very tiny, enigmatic deers, and they are dear to my heart. All right, and that was the main section. Musical interlude. I just maybe thought I would show for the musical interlude that I made this video. Oh, what the fuck? Sorry. Sorry about that. We will get to that. This musical interlude is, I just wanted to show I made this video. It's for people on Patreon and YouTube members, so you could check it out if you want. And I just had a really interesting time. I recorded myself playing piano. Then I, watched it back and added this sort of effect, which was a snare sound effect that I had modified with a bunch of delay and reverb. And then I was modifying those parameters while watching it back. And then I added a third layer that was me doing voice with an effect that I'm also modifying live while I'm recording it. And that's, sorry, I'm having a hard time finding any segment with the voice. This is the best part. Where I'm doing that with the piano. So the recording, by the way, is bad on the piano in the first half. I just left it all in. I just made it like an 8-minute composition. I should have just done the second half. If I really wanted to just do the good part, maybe I'll release that separately. Because there is an actual just part that is good. And I did just sort of release the whole thing. So that's on me. Okay, so... Oh, I rebranded the side channel. By the way, that's why I was talking about channel names. And how you can only change them once. I rebranded it. It was called What's Therapy Streams. I rebranded it to What's Therapy Side Channel and Streams. Because I was like, I have videos that were not streams. They were just like this one. But then I remembered it actually was streams. I just compiled it with some extra... I added some extra recording to compile it. So actually I realized that I don't need to change the name of the channel. Because it really is just streams. But it doesn't matter. It is like sort of a side channel vibe. So I thought, I would just make whatever. Desk section. So let's get on into the desk section. First, so the desk section, obviously we talk about everything is art or politics. So there's art desks, there's politics desks. For the first art desk, I just thought I'd mention a book I just read. It was called Foursome. No, it was not pornograph. Well, I mean, I guess it had... No, it had all these letters between Georgia O'Keeffe and Alfred Stieglitz. It wasn't like the letters full, but it was like an author who had gone through all of them and was quoting them. And they did talk about a lot of sexual stuff, but I don't think it's not erotic literature. It's a foursome biography about Georgia O'Keeffe, Alfred Stieglitz or whatever, Paul Strand and Rebecca Strand. Rebecca Salisbury, I forget her last name after her and Paul Strand divorce. But it was interesting. I mean, Georgia O'Keeffe's a fascinating person. Super like independent and just like does whatever she wants, and just a really fascinating person to read about. She sort of hid that she had been married to this guy. She really suppressed it from articles and stuff, which is so interesting. He was a famous photographer and like writer about photography in the very early 1900s, like 1905 or something. He was like around 30 years old, and Alfred Stieglitz, he just became like the most famous photographer in the U.S. And I mean, his photos were good, but it's sort of like right place, right time a little bit also, and right guy. But he was, interesting guy. And then he had a gallery, a few galleries, and he showed O'Keeffe's work, and they eventually started a long distance letter writing mentorship that became a relationship that became a different kind of relationship, and that became a marriage ultimately. He kind of pressured her into marriage. She seemed to regret that later in life, but also not. I don't know. It's complicated. People are complicated, They get all kinds of different things from different relationships. Okay, so Art Desk. Next up is not my side channel. UK artists earning an average of just £12,500 per year, says new report, and that's not that much in US in regular dollars. So that's women earning 40% less than men, and disabled artists earning a median of just 3,000. Wow. Meanwhile, photographers and illustrators, painters earn just 7,000. More than 80% of respondents reported their sources of income to be unstable or very unstable. Wow, many supported by another person. Issues of class, noting that more than half the respondents come from very privileged class, more than double the figure for the general workforce. Wow. Visual artists from less privileged socioeconomic backgrounds face income drops of up to 40%. Wow. Visual arts is a privileged profession. Yeah, I agree. I feel kind of stupid spending a lot of time painting lately. I've been painting less. Yeah, it's true. Of course it's true. Okay, next up, Art Desk. Artist Incy Evener says Qatari museum censored her work about a 19th century harem. They removed one of her videos from an exhibition at the last minute. The video revisits a 19th century engraving made by Antoine Ignace Mellin. Sorry for my pronunciation. On the day of the show's opening, the artist was told that harem would no longer be included in the show. In an email obtained by Art News, Zaina Arida, director of Mataf, told Evner, at the request of the Ministry of Culture, the work is not being included in the exhibition. Seeing is believing. Wow. She received a personal apology from the show's curator and has not received an official reasoning. Wow. Women's rights and free speech and free expression of art are being suppressed. Wow. It's been shown in museums around the world. Wow. Okay, very interesting. And next up, Art Desk. Artists and their art workers call on Tate Museum to divest from, or Tate Gallery, or Tate Britain, Tate Organization, Tate Institution to divest from donors with ties to Israel. Because if you think about it, I don't know if you know this, but Israel is committing a genocide. And you could argue that they've done it before at several points throughout history, but since October 7th, they've killed over, I believe, 45,000 people. and they're specifically targeting Palestinian people, and sometimes explicitly Israeli leaders will talk about killing Palestinian people specifically. And by the international definitions of genocide, Israel is, I believe, met most of the criteria, if not all of it. I believe it was like 4 out of 5 points. So they are literally committing a genocide right now, and it's horrible that the United States is funding it, and probably it could have stopped it immediately. That's horrible as well. But you also want to think, well, then maybe if the U.S. should stop, like anyone sort of, it's not that someone's Israeli, but if someone's funding Israel organizations or contributing to Israeli, this Israeli state in any way, that's literally a organization that's committing genocide. So could understand why people might be sort of, protesting this. So people signed a letter addressed to Tate leadership. More than 600 artists signed a letter, including prize winners and so on, accusing the Tate Group's founders of being connected to Israel's genocidal policies in Gaza, citing findings from the International Court of Justice and the United Nations that describe Israel's military actions as being consistent with genocide and apartheid. The letter points to the role of the Zabludovich Art Trust and Outset Contemporary Art Fund in providing what activists term art washing, or the use of partnerships with museums and artists to obscure ethically dubious political connections. In 2023, the Zabludoviches closed their doors to their private museum in London, a move that came after decades of scrutiny over Paju Zabludovich's business ties to pro-Israel groups. Yeah, see, that's not just being like an Israeli person. That's supporting groups that are, pro-Israel is not the same as being Israeli, is what I'm trying to say. A 2009 Guardian report said that he had funded the British Israel Communication and Research Center, Tamarius Group, where he is CEO, a real estate investment company. Where he is CEO is a real estate investment company that has funded technology companies linked to Israeli security efforts. Outset has in the past listed Leviev, a development company linked to building projects in West Bank illegal settlements, as a corporate partner. So when you see people protesting stuff like this, you should assume that the connections are this significant, you know what I mean? At least. Tate's partnerships with these organizations directly undermine its commitment to equality and social impact. It points to prior instances where Tate divested from Russian donors following the invasion of Ukraine. The letter came not long after students at Goldsmiths were successful in getting the art school Goldsmiths Center for Contemporary Art to end its relationship with Candida and Zach Gertler. Candida is currently the director of Outset Contemporary Art Fund, which launched in 2003. It has, for the past decade, partnered with the Tate to fund its acquisitions of contemporary art. The Gertlers, whose wealth derives from real estate, were the targets of protests organized by the student group Goldsmiths for Palestine, who demanded the school divest from the philanthropists over their personal links to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has a warrant out for his arrest from the International Criminal Court, and financial support for his political campaign. So, wow. We stay informed here at the Verbal Journal podcast, don't we? Okay, so what should we do now? You know what I mean? Should I maybe thank the patrons and the members? You know what I mean? I could do that twice in a row, I think. I don't want people to get spoiled, but I think I could do it twice in a row without people getting sort of a big head about it, right? I don't know. Let me know if your head gets bigger. I'll start with the members. Thank you, Matthew, Simply Snaps, Jasmine, Eva, Sadie, Jifa, Jaden, Trusty Ghost, Hollow Moon, Pit Inhabitant, and 39% Weird. And then on the old Patreon page. And let me know what you think of the lying down thing. You know what I mean? like, was it how great was it? You know what I mean? Thank you, Helena, Minus, MT, Caleb, Emily, Miranda, Ruben, HP, Ibnomad, Oliver, MK, Matt, Scott, X, Noah, Anastasios, Linguist, Sam, King, Margot, Tom, Stephanie, Verbal Gerbil, Hugh, Donovan, Redgrove, Elemancy, Platinum, Sarge, Rabid Dog 008, Jen, Ian, Russ, Irene, MJ, Gal45 or Swit, Ryan, Madeline, John, Mr. Moxie, Brent, Kyle, Ashley, Jack, Scott, Luca, Gunther, Thulu, Source Rex, Miles, and User. And, Mailbag. I almost forgot because, I guess, I just didn't want to face the music. What are people going to say? And, cool. So feel free to write in if you want, and verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. And thanks so much for watching. It's a pleasure doing business with you. And I'll catch you on the flippity flop. All right, bye.
This is a podcast or something